Welcome back to another episode of Out of Bounds. This is episode 13, and today we're going to be talking about cancel culture. Beautiful. I forgot to get water. Welcome back to another episode. My name is Danell Leyva. I'm in a new location. Not really. I'm just in a different room because, first of all, much better lighting. Second of all, look at this. The mic is in a better place. You can see it. I think this will be a better spot. I don't know what that is. I'll move it. There we go. Today we're going to talk about cancel culture. And you know what? This topic is very intriguing to me because there are absolutely a lot of people who they definitely deserve to be canceled. They deserve to remain canceled because you could tell that they're the kind of person who will not try to be a better person. They will not. The only sort of accountability that these people will try and take is because it only benefits them in the long run, rather than actually taking accountability for the sake of just saying, hey, I fucked up. Right? So, it's really interesting because in both of my known worlds, gymnastics and the entertainment industry, there have been a lot of cancels. And like I said, a lot of them have been very well deserved. But there's always going to be opportunists. There's always going to be people that try and take advantage of a moment, of a situation, and use it to their advantage rather than actually continuing to help out a certain type of movement, a certain type of moment or situation that needs the most help. And rather, they just try and grab onto the coattails to mess with one person because they feel like it, right? And I know this because, like I said, first of all, there's always three sides to every story. There's always one person's side, the other person's side, and the truth, of course. But, again, there are certain people that there is so much evidence piled against them that you just like, okay, kind of like Chris Brown. There has been so many things happening and that have happened that if at this point you still support him, then like you should really check yourself, honestly. If you really are still kind of being like, yeah, it's not that bad that he beat up a person that was his partner, that was a woman, because he has anger issues. And by the way, I had anger issues. I had very bad anger issues. And I never, ever, and will never lay my hands on a woman like the way that Chris Brown did, ever, because it is inexcusable. And the fact that he still has a platform is beyond me. Almost like the whole R. Kelly thing, right? There are still certain people that they're just kind of like, well, he has good music. Nobody is saying that they weren't talented. That's not the discussion. The discussion is that this person is a disgusting human being, and there are other people that are probably just as talented and are phenomenal human beings that probably deserve that platform and spotlight and what have you way more than this person. Why are we giving it to this person who is a known shit human being? And that's been the whole argument. But like I said, there are always the situations where people take advantage of it and they just want to mess with the one person, right? And in the gymnastics world, you're kind of seeing it a lot right now, right? Where they're absolutely needed and still needs to a certain extent. There needed to be a complete and utter culture change, right? There was so many things wrong with the way that people were brought up and the way that people were treated and everything that we needed to stop it and we needed to start a new one completely, right? That's not to say that there was never any good people. Although Simone and Amy, although they separated, they went their own ways. Everybody has their own destiny. They have their own path. In my perspective, and I could be wrong, and Simone, if you see this for any reason and you want to reach out to me and you want to tell me whether or not this is true, please do so. I'm absolutely open, and I'm definitely willing to go and to say that I have been mistaken. But as of now, my perception of their relationship as coach-athlete was probably one of the healthiest. And it's because she treated her like a human being. And guess what? Simone is and will always be one of the best gymnasts, probably athletes, of all time, without a doubt, without question. And she was treated like a person. The only time she was treated any sort of way outside of the way that Amy was treating her, to my knowledge, was when she went to any national team training camp. But we know now. We didn't always know. We know now just how terrible it was under Marta. Marta deserves to stay canceled. There are certain people, though, like I said, that you hear these like reports and stuff about them, and you hear these allegations and stuff, and you're like dumbfounded. You're just like, this, I've never heard. What? Like this person? Where? You know? And then you dig a little deeper and you see that you're just like, oh no, there's a history, there was a pattern. Okay, that person deserves to stay canceled. But then there's certain people that you're just like, oh, I've never heard this person, there's no way. And then you dig deeper and there's zero pattern, zero history, and it's just this one person. And that's what makes me question it. Does that person, and this, I invite you to interact with me on this. I invite you to give me your opinions because I would love to hear them, because I genuinely want to learn and know more about this. I love the back and forth with people about situations like this. Does that person, and I'm not saying that we should not believe the person who is reporting any sort of allegations, because I do understand that there are certain situations where it is a one-time thing. Is it valid to get the other person's perspective? In my opinion, I feel like we should. It only in certain situations, right? In situations like what happened with Larry Nassar, I don't care. I don't care what you have to say. I don't want to see his face ever again. I hope nobody ever has to see his face ever again, genuinely. But like I said, in a certain case where like you've never heard of it, and like it might not even be accurate, in that situation, do we encourage the person to say their side of the story? I would hope so, right? I would hope to give a person a chance of redemption. And I'm only saying this because of myself, right? I was the kind of person who, I was very much the example of being in a sort of situation where everybody thought that it was really great and everything was amazing and beautiful and that it was all happy sunshine and rainbows. The reality behind it was the complete opposite. You know, I understand how easily it can be to be manipulated. I understand how a relationship can be perceived as great when in reality you are just absolutely suffering the whole time. That's why I think somebody like Ying should be canceled. Period. It was not a unique experience to me. It was, you speak to 80-90% of the people that he coached, we all had the same experience. All of us. Because it's no surprise that I was the only one who was ever actually successful under him. Whereas you see somebody like my mom took, I don't know how many athletes to world championships. I don't know how many athletes went off and got full rides at a whole bunch of different colleges and universities. A bunch of really great athletes. And look, by the way, I'm not saying that my mom was perfect, because by no means. She was very much raised on that old school, like traditional way of coaching gymnastics, right? She had the very old Russian way. The difference with my mom is that she went evolving and she went changing her tactics. She went making sure that she would be better every single time. Kiki wanted to say hi. That's my baby. But the difference, like I said, with my mom is that she was the kind of person who decided to see any sort of mistake and become better and just be better than what that mistake was. Right? If you see the way that my mom coaches now versus the way that she coached 10, 15 years ago, it's not the same person at all whatsoever. But I feel like that's the point. If we are not ready, if we are not willing to change who we are on a very deep personal level, then we are not allowed any sort of redemption, because nobody's going to be able to change us. There's not a single person who has the power to change who you are other than you. And like I said, it is so easy to be manipulated. It is so easy to have people perceive something from the outside when it's something completely different. You know, I understand how effective gaslighting can be. I understand I was definitely a victim of gaslighting throughout my entire career. That's one of the main reasons why I think Ying should be canceled. I think what happens is that sometimes when you lack that mentor, when you lack that sort of solid foundation, when you lack that person that you definitely could have benefited off of, that's when you tend to fall into those moments. And unfortunately, because of course my mom was with the person that was coaching me, and her main goal was to make sure that everything was in harmony and that nobody was angry and nobody was fighting. It was really tough for her to pick sides. She couldn't, and the best side that she could pick was his, because of course he was an incredibly gifted manipulator. So he was manipulating her into seeing things the way that he wanted her to see them, and manipulating me into seeing things the way that he wanted me to see them, and just everybody around him, right? He had everybody convinced. But again, like I said, there are certain people that if they decide, I'll tell you what, myself, if I were to go back in time, and if I would have grabbed a young Danell from back in the day and like sat him down and like interviewed him, I would hate that kid. I would genuinely be like, you suck balls. I just was not a good person. But I decided every single day, when I realized it, when something clicked in my head and I looked at myself and I was like, I don't like this person, I decided that day to be better every single day. And that's something, I feel like that's an ability that every single person in the world has. It's just whether or not you have the drive to do that, whether or not you have the actual desire to do it. Because like I said, it is rather easy to be a good person if you just give a little bit of effort. It's very easy to be a bad person also. It's very easy. You just have to forget that you have a conscience for a sec, which is also easy. And for certain people, it's very easy. But like I said, I want to talk to you guys about what you think, what your opinions are of certain people that potentially you heard and you were just like, I don't know about this. Like this person, definitely, I know this person and I know that they deserve to be canceled, but I don't know about this one. That like it's what happened with Aziz Ansari. He was canceled immediately because everybody thought that he assaulted somebody and that he was like a really like shit person and all this stuff. And he took it so gracefully. He did it in a way where he stepped back. He was not contesting anything. He was not trying to like fight anybody about it. He gave the facts. He said, actually, this was my perception of it. He showed the text messages and everything and like all the things, and he still took a step back. But if you genuinely look at it and you're just like, that doesn't seem like it's what they're saying it is. Does a person like that deserve, even though it's not as bad as most of the other things? And by the way, I'm not saying that what he did is excusable because, like I said, everybody perceives things differently, and maybe she perceived it in a way that he did not. And that's fine, but I think it's very important what he decided to do, that he said, you know what, I'm sorry. I didn't realize this. If I didn't, this was not my intention. If this is what happened, I'm genuinely apologetic, and I will be better moving on. I think that's incredibly important. I think it's equally important to bring up, and it's very, very brave to say something about anything, any sort of situation, to speak up about something that has happened to you. Absolutely is incredibly brave because it is terrifying, especially about somebody who has a platform. But I also think it speaks volumes of a person's character when they can put their ego and their pride aside and not double down and not be like, well, no, I didn't do that. When they can be like, I'm sorry. That was not my intention. If I did that, I'm so sorry. I will be better from now on. I'm not erasing what you're saying in any way possible. I will be better. I'm sorry. This was my perception of it, but regardless, I'm sorry. Similar to Kobe, right? Kobe was the kind of person that he had some allegations about him, and they were very serious. But he was also the kind of person who every single day, for the rest of his life, he was making himself a better person. He was making sure that mistake or anything similar would never happen again. That he would make up for that every single day until the day that he died. And I genuinely believe that he did that and more. Because for me, sometimes it is more admirable to see somebody pick themselves up after being broken down by their own hand, by the way, and rebuild themselves and decide to be better. And I think it's more of a personal feeling because of the fact that that's how I see myself. I relate to that because that's how I see that I was. I was a really bad person. I was somebody who, for a second there, I was like, I don't know if you are allowed any redemption, but I have decided every single day, and if I make a mistake, like I did, there's an entire episode of me apologizing for a mistake that I made. There was no excuse. But I have decided every single day to be better than that. And so that's why I bring this up, because I think it's really important, and I think it's a very intriguing, very interesting conversation to have amongst ourselves, because I do understand how quickly, we are to cancel certain people. And again, like I say, by all means, there are certain people who deserve that and more. They absolutely do. I am also saying that there are certain situations where I think that we need to take an extra look at it before we make our decision, before we say, you know what? You no longer deserve any attention or whatever, what have you. Because again, like I said, there are so many open letters that are circulating now about gymnastics coaches. There are so many things that you're seeing coming out, and some of them deserve to be just shut down. Some of them you're just like, wow, you're a piece of garbage. Get out of here. Get out of our sport. We don't want to see or hear about you ever again. But there are certain ones that, like, they seem a little off. And I guess, and of course, I could be wrong. I don't know, man. I don't have all the answers. This is just like my personal opinion. And I'm encouraging you, all of you, to tell me why it is that I'm wrong or why it is that I'm right. Because if we see, here's the thing. If we see somebody who has a history of being a shit person, fine. I actually don't trust that person to be like, oh, I'm sorry, I won't do it again. I don't trust you. It's like dating somebody and then like breaking up with them and then that like them coming back and be like, oh, I'm not going to do it again. And then you give them a second chance and they do the thing again and you're just like, dude. And then they ask for a second, like a third chance. And you're just like, no, because you know what's coming. There are certain people that they don't deserve that second chance. They don't deserve it. But there are certain people that I feel if they work for it, then they are earned. Not deserved, but that they earned the second chance. And I'll give you an example. One of my favorite shows is New Girl. I think that show is phenomenal. I think it's so funny. I've said on my Twitter, I've said in like other places, I'll take New Girl over Friends any day. In fact, I'll take any show over Friends any day. I don't like Friends. But New Girl specifically, I really, really enjoyed New Girl. I just thought it was a phenomenal show. It was so funny. The writing was great. The character development, it was great. There was an actor, Jake Johnson. He plays Nick on the show. And I was watching an interview of his, and he was speaking about his dad. And he was talking about when his dad tried to come back into his life, that he did not give him, he gave him a real hard time. Because his dad didn't deserve a second chance. Because his dad, no matter what you say, he had already done so much throughout Jake's life that Jake, he was like, no, dude, like, you're there. I think he said in the interview that he wouldn't even call him dad or pop or nothing like that. He would just like, nah, and he would call him like by his first name, and like the dad would come and he would like, and he'd be like, nah. He would like purposely give him a hard time, and that the dad would like say, I love you, and he was just like, all right. But what happened was very interesting, because the dad, with his actions, he showed every single day that he was going to be better than that person that Jake remembered when he was growing up. I think that's just as important as absolutely shutting certain people down because they don't deserve it. If after years and years and years, you see that there has been some certain change, that their actions have spoken much louder than the words that they have said, like, oh, I'm sorry, then that person has earned their second chance. Does that make sense? It's a difficult topic. And like a lot of people don't really want to talk about it because funny enough, they don't want to get canceled, right? Because it's difficult, because there are certain people that just do it off a whim, and that's fine. That's fine. I'm just more interested with starting a conversation with people that deserve to have a conversation, with people that you can understand that they will have a proper conversation, because there's certain people that they will not. There are certain people that no matter what, you're not going to get through. They're not going to understand you. They're not even going to attempt to understand you. None of that. But there are certain people that you can have some sort of opposing views, and you can still have a conversation. You can understand their side of it, and hopefully they can understand your side of it. And hopefully you can come to a mutual agreement where, you know what, maybe a little bit of what you're saying has some sort of truth, and they can hopefully say maybe a little bit of what you're saying has some sort of truth. And I'm not talking about the political side of it, because there are certain people that if you support a certain person that we all know that is orange, now after 4 years, you're a racist, and you're a sexist, and you're a homophobe, and all the other bad things that a person can be. If you still to this day are supporting that person, I genuinely don't think anybody that is subscribed to me supports that person or supports any of that sort of ideology. Mainly because I am so heavily constantly pushing the Black Lives Matter movement, support for the LGBTQ plus community, especially being part of the community myself, which, by the way, I kind of just officially came out on Twitter the other day, and it was really scary, but it felt really good. And I got so much incredible support from everybody. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much for all of the incredible support that I got from all of you. It was very heartwarming, but I digress. Okay, at this point, I actually wanted to read some of the comments from my last video. There's one person in specific. They've always been so incredibly supportive. They've followed me, and we've actually been Tumblr mutuals for a long time. His YouTube handle is ultra generic. He always leaves such great comments and feedback and everything. And we always have great, back and forth. And I just want to thank you specifically because, again, man, thank you so much. Thank you for being constant supporter. The person who runs the Latinx Rising account also has commented on every single one of my videos. Thank you. I appreciate you so much. I know that this is still a relatively new channel, and I know that I'm still working out all the kinks and stuff like that, but I'm so excited that you guys are following with me on this journey. But I basically just saying that I appreciate you. Next week is going to be a great week, because next week we're going to be talking to a guest that I'm not going to say who it is yet, but it's somebody that I hold very dear to me, and they're phenomenal. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. I'm out. Peace out. Let's roll those credits.